Noile Virtual Academy. Hello, good morning. Here we are, Algebra 1, Unit 1. This is going to be covered in your first lesson. When I'm talking about foundations, you will be, going over a quick review of required material and topics for this class. And you're going to be asked to recall everything that you learned so far in your pre-algebra, in your Math 7, Math 6, and other math classes before 9th grade, right? And one of the questions will be, asking you to divide by decimals. And we have an example here, 350 divided by 0.007. How can you solve a problem like this? And you're gonna think about it, you're gonna recall it, you're gonna remember how your teacher and how you did it, how your teacher told you to solve a similar problem, how you did it in the previous years, right? Now keep in mind that whenever you have a division, right, you're thinking about a fraction. And if I have 350 divided by 0.007, I can write the whole thing as 350 over 0.007. Now, when we have fractions, we don't like to see decimals in our denominators, and we don't like to see decimals, whatsoever in any part of my fraction. Well, because only one of them is a decimal, and I'm talking about the bottom one, I can and I should change that denominator into an integer, right? And because I have 0.007, all I need to do is to multiply this number by 1, by 1000, okay? And that would change my 0.007 into 7. Because you guys, if you remember, when you multiply by multiples of 10, your decimal point will move to the right in this case, right? As many steps, as many zeros you have. I got 3 zeros, which means my 0.007 becomes 7, okay? However, you have to remember that you need to keep your fractions the same. You cannot change, the value of this fraction, and that means whatever you're doing to the bottom of your fraction, you're gonna do to the top, okay? So if I'm multiplying the bottom by 1000, I will multiply the top by 1000. And to multiply a whole number by 1000 or by any multiple of 10, all you need to do is to write that number, in this case 350, and just add how many zeros your multiple of 10 has. In this case, 3 zeros. And here you go. The top will become 350,000. The bottom is 7. And now all you need to do is to divide the top by the bottom. Well, I got 35, right? Divided by 7, basically. Because all the zeros could be just carried over for your final answer. What is 35 divided by 7? You're basically simplifying by 7, right? You divide the bottom by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 35 divided by 7 is 1. 5. And you have 5 followed by how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 4. And that will be the answer. So the answer to our question, what is 350 divided by 0.007, is 50,000, okay? And this should not be a surprise. I mean, just think about it. 0.007 is a tiny number. It's a very, very small number compared to 350, and no wonder goes into 350 50,000 times, okay? Alright, so this is, one way in which you can divide by a decimal. Let's move on to something else. Alright, in Unit 1, we're going to review a few of the basic geometrical, formulas and properties, or topics if you want. And one of them refers to the area of the triangles, right? And if you guys remember from the previous school years, the area of any triangle is always given by the product, or by half of the product of your base and height, right? So if you know this, you can find the area of any given triangle as long as you're able to determine what is the length of the base, what is the length of the height. Okay? And in this case, they're telling you your base is 16, your height is 24. Now obviously my little figure here is not quite drawn to scale, but it really doesn't matter as long as you understand, how to plug them in, right? So let's find the area. All you need to do next will be to substitute the values that are given to you into your formula. So the area of a triangle, and that symbol there, usually in algebra is going to be delta, but that looks like a triangle. Let's say the area of a triangle, or the area of this triangle, is 1/2. Okay, base 1/2 times base. What is the base? Well, that's the base, right? The base is the side that it's intersected by your perpendicular from the opposite vertex. And as you can see, my height of 24 meters makes a 90-degree angle with its intersecting a base 16. That would be 16, right? If you want, you can put parentheses here just to understand that that's referring to your base. Okay, and then you will multiply this one by your height, which for this problem is 24. Alright, now order of operations, we have multiplication, so it really doesn't matter. You have to go left to right, and you will be fine. Even if you're going right to left, you're also going to be fine for this case. Okay, but let me show you a trick. Before any of you will go ahead and just multiply, two at a time, we can rewrite this whole expression as 16 times 24, everything over 2. Okay, because you remember, if you multiply fractions by whole numbers, and I'm going to show you here on the top, one example. Okay, if I have a over b, let's say, times the number c, well, this is the same as multiplying that whole number, right, to your top. So basically we'll have a fraction that will be a times c, everything over b. So here I will have 16 times 1 over 2, and then I have 24 times 16 over 2, which would be 16 times 24, everything over 2. Now before I will multiply the top here, I can simplify by 2. Okay, and instead of dividing 16 by 2, I'm going to divide 24 by 2, which is what? 12. Okay, over 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Or you can go the other way, right? I can say, well, 2 goes in 16 8 times, and 2 goes into 1s, right? I mean, whichever way works for you. And now all you need to do is to multiply 8 times 24. Maybe this is the best way to go here. You will go one step at a time. 8 times 4 is what? 32. 8 times 2 will be what? 16 plus 3 will be 19. And this is the answer for our problem. What is the area of the triangle with a base of 16 and the height of 24? I've got it. Will be 192. And now make sure you're not forgetting about the unit, because here you have meters times meters, right? That will give you squared meters. And this is the answer to this problem. Will be 192 squared meters. Okay, what is 2 to the power of 4, right? You guys remember, if you have powers, 2 to the power of 4, right? 2 is the base, 4 is the exponent. This is just a short writing for 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? So this is the 2 to the power of 4 in the expanded form. You're multiplying 2 by itself 4 times. We basically have 4 2's that are multiplied by each other, right? So what is the answer here? Like I said, order of operations left to right, but you can start right to left in this case. But you know what? Not to you know, confuse yourself, you just go left to right. So it'll be what? 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 2, which is 8. 8 times 2 is going to be 16. Okay? So 2 to the power of 4, easy question, easy problem, will be 16. Okay, we have an expression and we have to simplify. Okay, as you guys notice in here, we got parentheses, we got different operations, and as usual, you need to remember the order of operations, right? And I'm always recommending my students to write the order of operations, you know, on somewhere on your paper. Okay, you're gonna put that PEMDAS, which stand for what? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, somewhere on the paper, and you're going to check if you have any parentheses first. Do we have parentheses? Yes, we have. We have 2 types of parentheses. We have the round one and we have the brackets. So obviously you're going to start with the one in the middle, with the round parentheses. And you will do first what operation you have in here, which is 7 minus 4. 7 minus 4, that's going to be 3. Okay? Well, what is next? That should be multiplied by 4, and to that you will add 3. And now your brackets here are becoming round parentheses, because there will be no other parentheses here, because your round ones were worked with, right? So I have inside 3 times 4 plus 3, everything multiplied by 2. What should I do next? Well, I'm looking again. What is the order of operations? Parentheses, exponents. Do I have parentheses? Yes, I still have parentheses. Now, inside your parentheses here, you will check again for what order should be followed, right? Do I have any other parentheses? No. Do I have exponents? No. Do I have multiplication? Yes, I have. And that's what? That's 3 times 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12, and then I will add 3 to that. And everything will be multiplied by my 2 that's outside. Once again, order of operations, parentheses. I still have parentheses, but now I only have to add 12 and 3, which gives me 15, right? And then I will multiply this one by 2. There's only one operation left. 15 times 2 is going to be 30. And I'm done. Okay? So order of operations, write it down, PEMDAS. Go with the first one, parentheses. If you have exponents, you will follow that. If you have multiplication, so on, so far. Okay? Good. Alright guys, let's remember how to evaluate expressions when the values of each one of your variables are given. 2 times a plus 2b. Okay? What should we do? Well, the problem is telling me that my a equals 6, which means wherever I have a in my expression, I'm going to plug in 6. The problem is also telling me that for b, I will substitute in my expression the value of 4, right? This way, your expression will become what? Will be 2 times, nothing changes, 2 is 2, right? Parenthesis, A, what is A? A is 6, right? Will be 6 plus 2 times B, but my B is 4. 2 times 4. Now, to find the value of your expression, you have to follow your order of operations. Write what I said, write it down, and thus you have first parentheses, but inside the parentheses you have adding and multiplying, which if I would follow the order right, I know I have to do multiplication first. 2 times 4 is 8, and I have in parentheses 6 plus 8, everything multiplied by 2, right? Once again, order of operations tell me to go first with the parentheses. 6 plus 8 is going to be 14, and that will be doubled by my 2, right? 2 times 14 is going to be 28, and this is the answer to this problem. Remember, order of operations, and you will be fine. Okay, in this unit we will solve problems that require you to translate from a verbal statement into an algebraic statement, or backwards, right? Like in this case, you have a word phrase, you have a verbal statement, and you need to translate that into a variable expression or algebraic expression. How can we do it? Well, if you guys remember from the lessons you've covered this year and the previous years, you go one step at a time, or one part at a time. And first of all, you need to remember what is quotient. Okay, the quotient of a number and 4 is decreased by 2. The quotient of a number, that's your first part. But you need to remember what is the quotient standing for. And quotient stands for division, right? The quotient of a number and 4. Okay, so this is the first part that we have to translate here. The quotient of a number and 4. How can you write that? Well, in algebra, if you say a number, right, I can use any letter I want for that. You can go with X, you can go with N, you can go with M, right? So the quotient of a number, let's name that number, I don't know, X and 4. The quotient means my number divided by 4. Okay, my number X divided by 4. And this is the translation for the phrase that says the quotient of a number and 4. Okay, and now the last part says is decreased by 2. When you hear decreased, you're thinking about what operation, what basic operation is telling you, or you're looking for when you talk about decreased. It's getting lesser by, right? So it's getting smaller by 2. Decreased stands for what? For subtraction, right? So I have x over 4 decreased by 2 will be minus 2. And this is the answer to this question, to this problem. The translation, the algebraic expression for the phrase the quotient of a number and 4 is decreased by 2 will be x over 4 minus 2. The quotient of a number and 4 is x over 4 decreased by 2 minus 2. Okay? Moving on. Okay, problem number 7. Which value of x makes the open sentence true? Okay, 9 minus x equals 3x minus 7. Well, some of you will say, what is that open sentence? Well, in this case, your open sentence is nothing else but an equation. What is an equation? Two equal statements, right? equation, you have the equal sign and you have one statement on the left, one statement on the right, and they're equal, and that makes an equation. Two equal statements. How can we find the value of x? Well, we're going to solve the equation. And now because I have x on both sides of my equation, I will move my x on one side, and because here on the right I have the highest coefficient, I have 3x, and here I have negative x, I'm going to move everything on the right, which means add x to both sides. If you add x to both sides, as you can see here on the left, minus x plus x will be nothing. You will be left with 9, and that equals what? 3x plus x is 4x minus 7. What should be the next step? Well, I want to isolate my x. That's the way you solve the equation. You're going to have your x's on one side of the equal sign, while the numbers will be on the other side. For me to accomplish that, because I took 7x from my 4, I took 7 away from my 4, I'm going to add 7. And to keep your equation, your open sentence here balanced, right? I will add 7 to both sides. Now I have 9 plus 7, which is 16, and that will equal 4x. Nothing happens to that. Now minus 7 plus 7 is going to be 0. And now you have 4x equals 16. 4 times the quantity equals 16. What is that quantity equal to? How can you find that? Well, we'll divide both sides by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4x divided by 4, you have 4 divided by 4, which is 1. It's going to be 1x. Okay? So for what value of x will this open sentence be true? For x equal 4. Okay? Alright, the last problem for this short lesson is asking you to determine which equation represents this situation. John worked 3.5 more hours than Kate. Together they worked 20 hours. Kate worked h hours. And you have 4 options. H plus 3.5 equals 20. H plus parenthesis h plus 3.5 equals 20. H plus parenthesis h minus 3.5 equals 20, and h plus 7 equals 20. So which equation represents the given situation? And to solve problems like this, you will start with your facts. John worked 3.5 more hours than Kate. Together they worked 20 hours. So I know that John's hours plus Kate hours will be equal to 20 hours. What else is given to me? Kate worked h hours. So I definitely know that my Kate here has worked h hours. Okay? So Kate has h hours. The question is, can you find how many hours did John work? Well, let's go back to the first statement. John worked 3.5 more hours than Kate. Well, how can I write that as an algebraic statement? 3.5 more, that more, the word more can be substituted by addition, right? So we'll have 3.5 plus the hours that Kate worked. Well, I know that Kate has worked h hours, so John's number of hours will be 3.5 plus h. Okay. Now, 3.5 plus h could be written as h plus 3.5 if you want. So which one of these four possibilities will tell you that together John and Kate have worked 20 hours? Because as you guys notice, you know, all these equations are about something equal to 20, but that something on the left should be the number of hours that John and Kate worked together. How can I find that? Well, I'm looking at the number of hours each one worked. Kate has worked h hours, John has worked h plus 3.5 hours. Together would be the sum of each one's number of hours, right? So it will be h, the number of hours that Kate worked, plus the number of hours John worked, which is h plus 3.5. And this is the number of hours that they worked together, and I know for sure that that equals 20. Okay? And I'm looking for which one of the answers here are the same with my equation that states h plus parenthesis h plus 3.5 close the parenthesis equals 20, and that would be option B. Okay, so for this problem, this is the right answer. I hope you've got it. We'll get back to it in class tomorrow. Keep up the good work.